Hello, do you know what the difference is between what a hot asset is and what a cold asset is? Well, I'm Namrata Notani, an estate planning and asset protection lawyer in the state of Texas. And I help Texans protect their families, preserve their assets, and help them pass their legacy from one generation to the next in the least painful way possible with good and proper life and legacy planning and great asset protection. Today I'm going to be talking to you about the asset protection piece, part that I do after I do the life and legacy planning, because I believe that life and legacy planning with protecting your family comes first and then comes protecting your assets. And one of the biggest things to do when you are trying to protect assets is to categorize them into different assets, different buckets. And those buckets, the biggest bucket categorizer is when we put an asset in a hot asset bucket or a cold asset bucket. A hot asset is a bucket that contains all the assets that actually by their virtue itself have a higher risk of lawsuits. And a cold asset is when by its virtue itself you don't have that high risk of lawsuits. Lawsuits are probably one of the biggest hazards out there to losing your wealth. As we all know, as the economy goes down, lawsuits go up. And unfortunately, right now, our economy is going down. And the number of lawsuits are up as they have ever been up. And everything is up for grabs. So what we have to do is make sure that our assets are protected from any of these lawsuits, whether frivolous or not. The best way to do that is to make sure that our hot assets are in a box, separate from our cold assets, which are in a separate box, so that we make sure that the risk does not pass through to the two. Even our hot assets, because they can be many, we can make them divided into different buckets and have them separated out so that if one is attacked, the other doesn't get damaged or exposed as well. A hot asset, by its virtue, as I said, is more exposed to lawsuits. That's because what we do in a hot asset is usually run a business or hold rental property or any kind of real property that could actually have somebody sue us just because we are going through the process of maybe providing a service or renting it out to a tenant. And so something ever happens to our client customers or to the tenant, they can sue the person that holds that property. And in order to protect that property from that lawsuit, there's a certain kind of box that can go around it. A cold asset, on the other hand, is paper. Generally, it's money. It is either stocks, bonds, just cold hard cash under your mattress. It is stuff that is in your bank. And when that is considered cold, that just means that it, by its nature, will not cause a lawsuit to occur. There isn't anything that money can do sitting in the bank to hurt somebody else, right? So nobody's going to sue money, while somebody can sue the owner of a rental property or the owner of a business. And so that is how we divide our hot assets and cold assets. And then we categorize which asset needs to go into which kind of a bucket and what kind of a box needs to be put around it. The boxes come in various sizes and shapes. They can come from as complicated structure as a holding company in Wyoming that then comes down to a Texas series LLC with different series holding different properties, and then eventually tying it up to an irrevocable trust, and then that going through to your next generation. Or it can be very simple as one single LLC holding one single rental property, if that's what you have. The problem that most of us have is that we think asset protection is for the super wealthy, and it is not. In fact, when people have millions and millions of dollars, they probably have their own in-house legal counsel, they probably have a whole bunch of asset protection already in place, and they don't need to worry about losing a few million if they have many, many million. People who have less in wealth, people who fall in the small business category, people who actually have worked hard and come from humble beginnings and built something so that they can actually pass it to their kids, those are the people that need asset protection from lawyers like me. Those are the people that can benefit the most from services like mine. Because if you have 100,000 to $1 million to 5 million to even 25, 30 million, you probably are not having a full legal division in your company trying to save you from lawsuits and future bankruptcy or future divorces or creditors. you are still doing that building. You're trying to work hard towards building that nest egg, not as much towards securing it. And it's time, my friends, to help secure it and make sure that it's not attacked by lawsuits and other elements, so that you can actually use that nest egg not just for yourself, for your retirement, but also to pass it on as generational wealth security to the kids, to your generations ahead of you. So if you consider that as an important element of your estate planning, talk to your lawyer about it. Tell them. Don't think that asset protection is not meant for you just because you don't roll in the millions or have a huge portfolio of many rentals or multifamily units or different kind of investment properties that you consider to be way more than what is required for asset protection. Because asset protection can start from a single home and then go from there. Your primary residence is where asset protection starts. Your family is where life and legacy starts. So think about that, consider that anytime you go out there and talk to an attorney about your life and legacy planning, because that's important.